It's not only statues of Cecil Rhodes which seem to be causing problems with Oxford. Oxford seems very reluctant to change with the times. I was at Oxford University. I expect better, really. I expect Oxford to respond to problems and to respond with generosity and positivity. The Sackler family were the owners of Purdue Pharma, and they had to pay £4.5 billion for their role in the American opioid epidemic. And it's a huge, it was a huge payout. It resulted in filing for bankruptcy as well. And President Biden has committed to fighting what he calls the opioid epidemic. This is about perfectly reasonable medicine, which is fortified by opiates and leads to addiction and various other bits and pieces. And the Sackler family are at the heart of that issue. They have caused their medicine has caused enormous harm, dependency, and side effects. And although they say they have acted lawfully, and that they'd unexpectedly become part of the opioid crisis that brought grief to many, they were necessarily found guilty of being a major actor in that problem. The family is now banned from the industry, and they must make public lots of documents which they had hidden, and their company needs to be dissolved and sold, and the name has been tarnished. So the family has donated heavily to museums, galleries, scholarships across the world, particularly in America and the UK. And one of the most impressive buildings to be built in the last 20 years was the Sackler Library in St John's Street, butting onto the back of the Ashmolean. And it is an impressive piece of architecture. I drew a picture of it when it was first built. And really, their name needs to be removed. We need to... It's not about changing history. This isn't about pulling down statues. I think there is a case to retain the statue of Cecil Rhodes on the facade of Oriel College. But I think it needs to be contextualized. I think there is no reason to retain the name Sackler on the library building at all. That doesn't need to be contextualized. It simply needs to be removed. We shouldn't be celebrating a family that is so tied up with people's misery. If I'm wrong, please let me know. But I think it's a different scale of the problem. But Oxford's reluctance to deal with these issues is the same problem. So the conclusions, I think, should be different. And Oxford, meanwhile, should speed up its response time. It doesn't have long. And its standing in the world is diminished by the dilly-dallying over important issues. If it takes money from people, it needs to be sure that it's taking money from the right people. Its obsession with grabbing money wherever it can is perhaps rather distasteful. It's rather ugly, the way so many colleges around Oxford seem to follow ambulances and prey on the elderly in North Oxford, in streets like Observatory Street and so on, they are constantly around knocking on doors asking for donations, particularly when these people die. It, it's got a nasty whiff of something that is not wholesome. And I think our big universities should be above that.